June 6, 1944, dawned with a grey, uneasy sky over England, and Winston Churchill sat quietly in his study at Downing Street, studying the maps that covered the table before him. The war had dragged on for nearly 5 years, and Britain had endured destruction, exhaustion, and unimaginable loss. Cities had burned, families had suffered, and hope had been stretched thin by the relentless advance of Hitler's armies across Europe. Yet today marked a decisive moment, the culmination of years of planning and the audacious effort to open a Western front, Operation Overlord. Churchill understood the stakes with absolute clarity. The success of this operation could begin the unraveling of Nazi Germany's dominance in Europe, while failure could prolong the war, exacting an even heavier toll on millions. He had studied every map, every report, every briefing, yet no document could truly convey the reality of what awaited the men crossing the English Channel. Beyond the statistics and strategy, there were human lives, courage, and the fate of nations at play. As the sun rose weakly over London, a nervous quiet gripped the streets, citizens unaware that the course of history was about to shift dramatically. Families waited anxiously, holding prayers and whispered goodbyes, while Churchill, burdened by responsibility, felt both dread and anticipation coursing through him. Throughout the night, the first paratroopers had already begun landing behind enemy lines, their chutes blooming against the dark Normandy sky as planes roared overhead. Chaos reigned in the shadows as soldiers tumbled into hedgerows, fields, and forests, often miles from their intended drop zones. Their mission was crucial: to disrupt German communications, seize bridges, and prevent reinforcements from reaching the beaches. Each misstep, each entanglement, carried risks that could ripple across the entire operation. Churchill read reports as they arrived, his mind calculating every possibility, but his heart moved with the soldiers as if he were with them in the mist and darkness. 4 years, Britain had fought alone, relying on courage, speeches, and determination. Now, the Allies had committed their full strength to this single operation. Every soldier's life was a thread in the larger tapestry of history, and Churchill felt the weight of each thread as he traced their movements on maps and monitored radio communications that crackled with the immediacy of life and death. As dawn broke over the coast of Normandy, the first waves of amphibious assault troops approached under a storm of German fire. Landing craft plowed through rough waters, shells exploding around them, bullets cutting through surf and air. Soldiers clambered into the surf, weighted by gear, mud, and fear, yet driven by training and sheer determination. Gold, Juno, Sword, Omaha, and Utah, the code names of these beaches, would soon be etched into history. Churchill followed the incoming reports with bated breath, imagining the young men struggling through sand, obstacles, and withering machine gun fire. Every advance, every fallen comrade, every push forward had immense consequences, yet each moment also held the potential to alter the trajectory of the war. These were not just military maneuvers, they were the embodiment of courage and the collective hope of Britain, the United States, Canada, and all nations committed to defeating Hitler. By mid-morning, the landing waves were partially secured, though fighting remained intense. Soldiers pushed inland through hedgerows, across fields, and through small villages, capturing fortified positions, silencing German machine gun nests, and clearing paths for follow-on forces. Churchill read the reports with a mixture of pride, fear, and relief. Casualties were inevitable, yet the men pressed on, their bravery transforming statistics into stories of human determination. Every movement carried the weight of the past 5 years of war: the Blitz, the Atlantic convoys, the losses in North Africa, the relentless pressure on civilians at home. Civilians in Normandy huddled in shelters or cellars, enduring bombardment alongside the soldiers, their resilience mirroring the courage of the Allies. Churchill understood that the battle was as much about morale and hope as about territory. The sight of these soldiers pressing forward, risking everything for freedom, represented a turning point not just in the campaign, but in the hearts of all who followed the war from Britain. Across the English Channel, Allied commanders worked tirelessly to coordinate the assault. Eisenhower, Montgomery, Crowell, and their staffs managed logistics, troop movements, and reinforcements, knowing that a single misstep could imperil the entire operation. Churchill, observing from London, monitored every report and telephone update, analyzing strategic developments with the precision of a man who understood the fine line between triumph and disaster. Every unit secured, every bunker captured, every road cleared added to the slowly emerging picture of success. Yet Churchill never lost sight of the human cost. These were young men, many only 18 or 19, taking their first steps on foreign soil, fully aware that their bravery could be the difference between victory and failure. The command centers buzzed with tension and determination, reflecting a war now fought not only with bullets and bombs but with meticulous strategy and unyielding will. By afternoon, reports indicated that the beaches were largely under Allied control, though stubborn pockets of German resistance continued inland. Churchill allowed himself a cautious optimism, yet he remained acutely aware of the human cost and the dangers that still lay ahead. The presence of these soldiers on European soil symbolized more than tactical success. It represented hope, long fragile, transformed into something tangible and alive. America, once a distant partner in planning and supply, had now committed its industrial power, manpower, and unyielding determination to the European theater in full force. Churchill remembered with a swell of emotion the earlier moment when American troops had marched through London streets, their boots striking pavement, their confidence and energy tangible. Now, seeing those same young men, seasoned only by training and the crossing of the Atlantic, actively engaged in combat on the beaches of Normandy, that hope became reality. Each advance was not only a military gain but a vindication of years of preparation, diplomacy, and tireless negotiation. This was the moment when the abstract promises of alliance transformed into flesh and blood, courage, and determination, marching in rhythm across foreign sands, and Churchill felt the enormity of it in every fibre of his being, the weight of 2 decades of European instability and 5 years of Britain's struggle coalescing into a single, decisive action that had the potential to alter history itself. The civilians of Normandy endured the storm alongside the soldiers, caught between bomb blasts, strafing fire, and the chaos of invading armies. Families hid in cellars, barns, and hollowed-out buildings, holding their children close while the ground shook beneath them. Villages had been reduced to rubble, and the cries of the wounded mingled with the roar of artillery. Yet in that chaos, there was courage. Civilians guided troops through devastated streets, offered water and shelter to soldiers, and assisted the wounded, their bravery often unnoticed by the world at large. Churchill, reading the reports and later visiting liberated areas, understood that these acts of resilience were as critical as the assaults on fortified bunkers or the capture of strategic crossroads. He thought of the British civilians who had endured the Blitz, the rationing, and endless nights of air raid alarms. These French civilians were living that same courage in another country, for a shared cause. Their endurance amplified the significance of the soldiers' sacrifices, giving them meaning beyond immediate tactical gains. Every secured village, every cleared road, was a victory for humanity as much as it was for strategy, and Churchill allowed himself to feel a rare sense of quiet admiration for the unrecognized bravery that sustained the campaign. Churchill remained intensely involved in the coordination of the assault, consulting with Allied commanders, analyzing intelligence, and revising plans minute by minute. Every decision he made, every instruction relayed, had direct consequences on the lives of soldiers and the success of the operation. The complexity of leadership under fire became immediately evident as reports of setbacks, unexpected German resistance, and logistical delays reached his desk. Churchill weighed every option, understanding that the balance between caution and audacity could determine victory or disaster. Yet amidst the tension, he never lost sight of the human element. These were young men, facing mortally dangerous circumstances, carrying out orders with courage that defied fear itself. He often imagined their faces, their exhaustion, and their determination, knowing that each unit held the fate of towns, villages, and ultimately the future of Europe in their hands. Leadership in such moments was not merely about command. It was about vision, empathy, and the ability to inspire resolve even in the darkest hours. Churchill's presence, whether in command centers, on telephone lines, or reviewing maps, embodied calm, strategic clarity, and moral support, reflecting the profound responsibility of a man who bore the weight of a nation's hope on his shoulders. By evening, the preliminary objectives had largely been achieved. The beaches were held, inland advances continued, and the paratroopers had completed critical objectives behind enemy lines. Casualties were heavy, yet the operation had succeeded because planning, courage, and sheer determination converged at the right moment. Churchill allowed himself a private sense of relief and triumph, the first in years. After enduring the Blitz, supply shortages, and near isolation, Britain could finally witness a decisive Allied action on continental soil. The Americans, Canadians, and British forces had proven that commitment could be transformed into tangible, victorious action. With the Western Front now fully engaged, Germany was under pressure from multiple directions. The balance of power had shifted irrevocably. Churchill knew the journey ahead would still be grueling, but for the first time, victory was not a distant hope. It was a realistic, achievable outcome. The significance of this turning point extended beyond military strategy. It was a statement to the world that tyranny, no matter how entrenched, could be challenged and overcome when courage, planning, and unity converged. Churchill made it a priority to maintain contact with soldiers and commanders in the days following D-Day, visiting hospitals, writing letters, and offering personal words of encouragement. He understood that recognition and morale were critical in sustaining the fight, that soldiers who felt valued were more likely to endure unimaginable hardships with determination and resilience. These young men were not faceless components of a military plan. They were living embodiments of the hope and will of nations. Churchill listened to their stories, asked about their experiences, and conveyed the gratitude of a nation that had relied on their bravery for survival. The courage displayed by soldiers storming beaches, navigating minefields, and confronting entrenched enemy positions was awe-inspiring. Each gesture of support, every visit, every letter from Churchill reinforced the human dimension of warfare, reminding soldiers that their sacrifices mattered, that their effort carried the weight of freedom, and that their courage was recognized at the highest levels of leadership. This psychological reinforcement was as crucial as any strategic planning in ensuring that momentum continued unabated in the months to follow. As the Allies pushed inland through France and Belgium over the following weeks, Churchill remained intensely involved in planning and strategic coordination. The lessons of D-Day, the importance of preparation, intelligence, morale, and Allied cooperation, became guiding principles for every subsequent operation. Every town liberated, every road secured, every fortified position captured reinforced the essential reality that Germany's dominance could now be challenged successfully on multiple fronts. Churchill understood that the landing at Normandy was not merely a single military success. It was the opening of a campaign that would ultimately decide the fate of Europe. The combined strength of American industry, manpower, and logistical capacity, along with the determination and experience of British forces, created an unprecedented coalition capable of executing sustained operations deep into enemy territory. Each step forward was not just a gain in territory but a consolidation of hope, morale, and strategic advantage, reshaping the trajectory of the war irreversibly. By the end of 1944, as Allied forces liberated Paris and advanced toward Germany, Churchill reflected on the journey from despair to triumph. The young soldiers who had stormed the beaches in June had endured unimaginable hardships, yet their courage, resilience, and determination had laid the foundation for liberation. Churchill, who had carried the burden of Britain's survival for nearly 5 years, finally witnessed the tangible results of planning, sacrifice, and alliance. D-Day had become a symbol of hope realized, fear transformed into courage, and strategy manifested as tangible victory. Though the war continued, and casualties remained high, the fundamental equation had shifted irrevocably. Germany faced the combined might of Allied nations, united in purpose, resource, and resolve. Churchill recognized that the sacrifices of those young men, the resilience of civilians, and the vision of Allied leadership had paved the way for liberation and ultimate victory. D-Day was more than a battle. It was a testament to the enduring human spirit, the power of alliances, and the certainty that tyranny, no matter how entrenched, could ultimately be defeated. For Churchill, witnessing the courage, sacrifice, and determination of those who had landed on Normandy's beaches confirmed that freedom could endure, hope could triumph, and victory, though hard won, was now inevitable.